Hello chefs, my name is Michael Bryan. I'm from A Touch of Salt restaurant. Welcome to Cook Like a Pro. This week we will be cooking a Sechuan roasted duck with a shoyu ramen, somen noodles and crisp vegetables. Your chefs have been preparing the ingredients over the last couple of days for you to finish in your own kitchen and serve to your loved ones. Okay, what you'll need for today's task is a couple of mixing bowls, a baking tray, a knife, a spoon, a pair of tongs, fry pan, saucepan, and a couple of bowls to actually serve in. You might have some funky deep ramen bowls or something that will sit as soup or a broth quite nicely. Use those. Okay, now let's suss out what's in the box. So obviously this has come to you pre-packaged, ready for your perusal. So lid off. Keep this little bad boy. Hopefully the footy's going to start again soon, so you'll be able to keep your drinks in it nice and cold. So in the box itself, we have the duck component, which is a pre-roasted half a duck that's been stuffed with oranges and Sechuan peppers. It's been then dipped in a honey vinegar solution about 3 times, and then it's been hung in an oven and cooked at 160 degrees for about 2 hours. It's then been chilled, and we popped it in a little bit of alfoil and baking paper for later on. We have the makings of a kimchi. So we have wonbok cabbage that has been dressed in garlic salt, a little bit of spring onions, and an actual dressing itself. In the dressing, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of lime, a little bit of chili. We have some bok choy stems that have been slowly braised down with the togarashi oil. We have the tops. We have some fresh bean sprouts. We have some seasoned eggs. So these are eggs that have been just boiled and then rested overnight in soy sauce, a little bit of mirin and a little bit of sugar. And it obviously takes on the flavor and the coloring on the outside of the egg. They'll be used for garnish later on. We have a couple of sheets of nori, which will be toasted. We have the somen noodles that have been pre-blanched. You want to just take those out and just rest them, bring them up to room temperature on your bench. We have sliced down leeks, chili threads, and green chilies. And we've just made a little furikake, so pretty much that is just toasted sesame seeds, crispy fried onions, and toasted nori sheets. We put a little bit of sugar in there, and that's pretty much it. And then the actual broth itself. We've made a shoyu ramen broth, so pretty much shoyu is based on a soy sauce. So in this broth itself, we've slowly roasted down chicken bones and pork bones. We also have dried shiitake mushrooms, kombu, which is a variety of Japanese seaweed, and we've pretty much slowly cooked those for about 7 or 8 hours, just at a very low temperature. And then we've set it, we've scooped off a little bit of the fat, but we've maintained some of the fat itself that'll float on the actual broth, add a little bit of flavor, add a little bit of slipperiness and deliciousness when you're actually eating it. So let's crack on with what we have. Okay chefs, let's kick this off. First of all, what we'll do is we'll make the actual quick kimchi. So we have the wonbok that has been sliced down. There's also spring onions in there that have been sliced down. And I've just dressed it with a little bit of garlic salt. So that garlic salt will already have started to bring out some of those natural liquids or natural moisture out of the cabbage, and also wilt it down a little bit. I'm just going to do a quick kimchi. Normally you'll do this and sit it for 4 or 5 days, depending on where you're situated in the world. But I want that freshness, I want that crisp vegetable flavor, and I don't want it super sour for what I'm actually doing today. So it'll just be a super quick one. So just grab your bowl, straight in, and then grab your dressing. Pop the lid off your dressing. Keep all these little containers. Obviously they can be used for everything else. And just pop it straight all over the cabbage. You want to get your hands in there and actually crush the vegetables a little bit as you do this, and that'll release some of the moisture. You would then normally press it down until the liquid fully covers it and leave it submerged to get that sort of fermentation and the actual, I guess, natural ferment happening. But I just want a little bit, as I said before. And then just sit that off to the side, let it come up to room temp. Okay, now what we're going to actually do is prepare the duck and get that ready for the oven. So As I said before, you have half a roasted duck that's in here that's been cooked down with oranges, Sechuan pepper, hence the Sechuan duck. We have wrapped it in alfoil and then wrapped it in baking paper, and it's actually being glazed with a tare. So what that is it's reduced mirin, reduced soy, a little bit of sugar that's actually being glazed over the top. I'm going to take this out and actually slice it down. You're best slicing it now while it's cold. It's going to be much easier and you're going to get a much better presentation. So it's up to you how you want to slice it. You could go straight down like that if you want. I'm going to go slightly on the bias. And just make sure that you're nice and gentle as you're going through to keep those slices. Whoop. We've deboned the duck itself, so all the leg component all the way up until the actual drumstick is deboned, so all this duck will be used. You could leave the actual leg component itself, because I would actually roast that in through the oven and then take that off once it's actually roasted. It'll be much easier to take the meat off. You could use all of this duck for this dish, or whatever's left the next day to mix through an omelette, to put through rice paper rolls, put through fried rice, whatever you feel like doing with it. So pick all that up, pop it onto your tray. All those little bits that's left on the board, just pop those on as well. Then grab your actual baking sheet. What you want to do, you also have a couple of pieces of nori that will be used for garnish. So we will toast these, and how we'll do that is we'll just pop them in the base of the tray so they stay nice and flat. They would have curled up a little bit because they've lost a little bit of moisture. So with your duck itself, just fold it back up. You don't want to fully enclose it. I'll bring that onto the actual tray so you can see. So cover your nori fully like that, and then you just want to bring up the edges. So if a little bit of juice does come out, it doesn't actually go into the nori, but it also creates a little bit of a steam effect, but it also dries that skin out and keeps it nice and crisp as well. So you want to pop that into your oven that's been preset on 170 degrees, and I would sit it in there for about 7 to 10 minutes and then just turn your oven off. Okay, your next step is actually just warming the ramen broth itself. So the broth has already been cooked. For you guys ready for home, this is pretty much the main component, I would say, as well as the duck itself, of the ramen. This is the broth. So all you want to do is pour this directly into a saucepan. Again, there's a fair amount there. There's almost a litre. So you would probably get a couple of goes out of this. It really depends how brothy you want to make it yourself. So just turn that on and bring it up to a boil, and then just turn it off and sit it off to the side. Okay, the duck itself is in the oven. The ramen broth has been brought up to the heat. You'll obviously have a second burner. So just keep that ticking on a very, very low simmer, and then get a frying pan, pop it on the actual heat, and then what we'll do is we'll quickly saute off the vegetables that we're going to actually place through it. So we have the actual stems of the bok choy. I've cut them separately to the actual leaves because they're going to cook at different times, obviously. We have a little dressing that we're actually going to cook all these vegetables in. And what this is it is togarashi. So it's a I guess Japanese 7 spice. So included in those 7 spices, chili peppers, orange peel, seaweed, black sesame seeds, white sesame seeds, Japanese peppers, and ginger, I think. And then obviously the oil component in here is once we've roasted all the ducks and all the drippings that have actually come off all the ducks, so technically the flavored duck fats have all gathered in the base of the tray, and we've scooped a little bit in there. So that's what we're actually going to be cooking all the vegetables in. So it's a good way to use everything up, and it's a good way to obviously accentuate and add to all the flavors that are already through there. So you want to put your pan on a medium heat. So we'll just up that a little bit, and then this is where you'll need your spoon from before. Then obviously pop your togarashi and the duck fats or straight into the pan. You don't want to burn this at this stage. So just spread that out. And you'll see it start to sizzle. Then you want to pop your bok choy directly in. Give it a little stir just to coat. Again, you're using quite watery vegetables. Then we have bean sprouts. So obviously just fresh bean sprouts, again, straight in. Now you can turn your heat up a little bit. And again, just give it a stir. I just want to wilt these down a little bit and just take the edge off. Obviously the hot stock itself will somewhat wilt it as well. See a little bit of moisture starting to come out of there. Then you've just got the leaves of the actual bok choy. So pop those straight in. And again, give it a little stir around. You just wilting those. When the actual leaves themselves turn that vivid green, which you'll see very soon, is when it's all ready. You can see the crispness of these vegetables themselves. They'll add a beautiful freshness. Lots of, especially in our climate, these sort of watery vegetables are very, very good for you. So I think they'll go really nice through the ramen itself. And that's pretty much where you want to be, where you want to get to. So take that off the heat and just sit that off to the side. Okay, let's get ready for a couple of the actual garnishes or a couple of the finishing components. So you'll have a container that has sliced leeks, red chili flakes, green chilies, spring onions, and a little container of furikake. So this is crispy onions, nori sheets, sesame seeds, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt. That's pretty much all we've used in this one. So you want to take that whole container off, dress it through, pop the lid back on, and just shake it all around. You just want those fully coated and fully covered, and just fully mixed in. Set that off to the side. And then we have our seasoned egg. So as I said before, these have been steeped overnight in a tare or a soy sauce mirin solution. The eggs have actually taken on that look. Just grab your knife. Then all you want to do is just pop your egg straight in half. Again, if you don't like egg, don't use the egg. Pop it back in the liquid, then do the same with the other one. Okay, so you have a couple of garnishes. Okay, now you have all your components ready to go. You have your kimchi that has been pre-dressed, sitting on the bench, brought up to room temperature. You have your sauteed vegetables. You have your garnish, as in your leeks, your chilies, your furikake. You have your seasoned eggs. We have the noodles that have come up to room temperature. We have the duck that has now been taken out of the oven. We have the nori underneath the duck. And we have the broth, the ramen stock, and still ticking over, keeping warm on the stove. So now it's time to actually plate up the dish. So grab yourself a couple of bowls, obviously one each for the ramen. And you've got a little bowl here off to the side that you can use for the kimchi itself. So you want to first of all grab your noodles. These are at room temperature now. So the actual broth itself will heat that up. You could use tongs, or I like to get amongst it. So you just give that a little twist. Again, there's a fair amount of noodles here, so use as much or as little as you want. Might put a little bit more in this one. There you go. Then you want to pop on some actual vegetables. I'll use some tongs for this one. We'll keep a little bit of vegetables for the top too to act as another little garnish in there. Then you want the duck component. So I'm going to keep the leg for a separate use, but you could flake it and pop it on there. As I said, you could flake that on there or you could use it for a separate use. Then you want to pour in some of your actual broth itself. This will warm the actual noodles. Turn that off so it stops beeping at you. And then grab your leeks or the extra little garnish. Pop them directly on the top. Grab your spoon, you want to put all those bits in there. Don't waste any of those extra little crunchy bits that'll add textures and flavours and all little bits of loveliness. Grab a couple of the eggs. Gonna drizzle a little bit of that tare in there, that'll add a little bit of the sweetness as well. Have some of the crisp vegetables. Just dot them off to the sides. Then we have the nori sheets that we had before. So you can just break those, just tear them. Maybe you don't want to cover that duck that much. Just tear them, pop them off to the side. So there's your two ramens ready for action, and then you've got a nice little side dish of the kimchi that's going to add a little bit of freshness and also break it up a little bit. When that ramen gets nice and rich, you want a little bit of the kimchi. So there we have it. There's your dinner for two. Thank you for cooking like a pro. I hope yours turned out perfectly and I hope you enjoy. Take care.